Well, you guys might not recognize me. I'm used to being in a t-shirt and jeans, but was told I have to look nice for this fancy event. So just bought these clothes that you see. Um, the Cognita team is so excited to officially be part of the RP family. I'd like to start by sharing with you the Cognita journey. My co-founder, Jihong Chen, and Akshay Chowdhury, and I share very similar personal stories. During undergrad, in 3 different parts of the world, we all decided that we would make it our life's mission to increase access to healthcare and quality of that care. We shared the belief that if you're lucky enough to win the lottery of life, you deserve a long, healthy one. The question was then, what's the right path to get there? We're all engineers, and almost a decade ago, each reasoned that AI was the most promising tool, but wasn't ready, even close to being ready for real-world clinical use. So the 3 of us went into academics, where we could really push it forward. And radiology was clearly the right place to start. As you guys all know, radiology is so central to the healthcare system, it's highly data-driven, and the labor shortage was already getting worse. So fate brought the 3 of us together during this academic period, and we published some of the seminal papers that pushed the field forward. But a secret that the 3 of us knew, and most people did not, was how far the field still was from anything that would actually work in the real world. And I'd like to use self-driving as a point of positive and negative comparison. Here's the first one. In academics, we had technology to drive the car around a track. In other words, we had nice demos in controlled and predictable environments. But the real world is a totally different story. It's not even close. And most people, especially AI experts, have no idea how difficult the radiology task actually is. Unless you've really, really tried, you have no clue. And here's 3 reasons why the problem is so hard. The first is the inputs are enormous. A single CT study or MRI study, plus the priors, can contain up to 1 billion pixels, which is incredibly difficult for models to handle. And second, the variability in the real world is extraordinary. To give you an intuitive sense of this, there are 10,000 rare diseases, each appearing in less than 0.1% of the population. And because there's so many of these rare diseases, 1 in 10 of us has one, and they show up in imaging. And third, the outputs are enormous. As we all know, radiologists describe in multiple paragraphs of detailed text the many abnormalities they see in imaging, including the descriptors of appearance, size, severity, location, changes from the prior, and every word in these reports has to be very accurate. And that complexity is why basically every other radiology AI company out there does something much simpler. They just say one of 2 things. Their answer is either yes or no to the presence of a single finding. Instead, our goal was to tackle the very challenging task of building models that emulate what radiologists do and provide them with a useful copilot to help them become more efficient and more accurate. After our PhDs, we figured it was now or never to try to scale and make the models actually work in the real world, which is a huge leap. So the 3 of us took the jump, and we were super fortunate that RP believed in us from day 0, before we even had a company incorporated. And RP was deeply aligned with our mission of giving more people better care. What followed over the next 1.5 years, we could have never imagined. Our team and Dr. Kotler's team arguably assembled the best engineering and clinical teams that radiology AI has ever seen. We took models that barely worked outside the research lab, solved a long list of technical and clinical problems to make them work in the real world. And although there's a very long way to go, as we all know, we are seeing results that are really so far beyond what has been done before. But the journey has not been easy. There's been so many ups and downs. It's required our teams to put everything we have into this. Our teams have worked basically every waking hour to get to where we are. Now, I want to spend the rest of the time describing why this is the right moment to go all in. First, I want to share 2 insights about AI in radiology. The first is, our models train by looking at millions of images, reading the corresponding reports, and figuring out how to map patterns in the images to patterns in the reports. Now, imagine if that's how radiologists learned. What if instead of 4 years of medical school and 6 years of residency, we told radiologists in training, sit down, look at millions of images and the matching reports every day, all day, for 10 years straight, and just figure it out. And by the way, don't ask any questions. Besides being incredibly boring, this would produce a very different kind of intelligence. And that's what we see in practice. Models can fall apart on the rare corner cases, whereas humans generalize incredibly well. I want to share a fun story with you. Mike was recently visiting our office in Silicon Valley, and he decided he wanted to try a Waymo. But unfortunately, he missed that meeting because the Waymo decided that it could not figure out a construction site. It had to pull into a parking lot, and a human had to take over. So that's just one example of how AI and human intelligence are very different. And here's another example from the best coding model in the world. Lots of us have probably seen that the previous generation of models could not count the number of R's in strawberry. Anthropic and others fixed that problem, but you see the models can still be tricked very easily if you slightly change the problem. So clearly, this is a different kind of intelligence compared to human intelligence. The word artificial in artificial intelligence is actually meaningful. And because of this, the goal should be to make the models more useful to humans over time, rather than replicating human intelligence, which won't happen. Now, it's funny to contrast this with all the Silicon Valley rhetoric. These companies need to raise a lot of money. And I'm super lucky now that I'm a part of RP and don't have to do this anymore, so I can tell the truth. And a second insight that I want to share with you is, unlike self-driving cars, where the use case is to drive, imaging encodes entire textbooks of information. If we could use AI to leverage all of this information, we could unlock almost infinite potential use cases. And humans will be needed to oversee this explosion of use cases because of the first insight I shared about why AI and human intelligence is fundamentally different. Now, because of those 2 insights, the ideal future of radiology for our patients is radiologists plus AI. But here's the scary truth. That future is not a given. We have to lead the charge in order to earn the right to define the future. We want the future to be decided by our physicians and not dictated for them. And if our practice cannot keep up with demand and tech companies solve the problem for us, like Rich said, markets work, the future could be much worse for our radiologists and our patients. Because as I explained, AI plus radiologists is the best future. And that's why Cognita turned down investment offers and joined RP. We thought that all the advantages across clinical, data, deployment, and the flywheel that Mike talked about would give us the best chance of leading the charge, and therefore the best chance of defining the future of radiology. Now, what can we do to make sure that we lead? Well, we can all do our part. To our radiologists, use the tools and tell us when something doesn't work. Your feedback is critical to making the models work well. To our support teammates, every day you shave off a deployment is a day patients receive better care. To our engineers, the next stretch could be the hardest and the most consequential work you will ever do. And to our clients, lean in, start using the tools, and make sure the tools you use actually improve patient care. For everyone in this room, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we will not get a second one like it. Most people never have a single opportunity in their careers to fundamentally reshape a field. If we go all in together, we will define what better patient care looks like. And I want to leave you with one last thought. If we get this right, why shouldn't we be able to extend RP's level of care to every patient worldwide? Thank you.